But the CDC did a flip-flop here. So this is one thing that really bothers me when people just say, well, trust the experts. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Are you an expert? And is Dr. Birx an expert? What about all of the other scientists who are actually qualified or doctors who practice, my God, medicine?
Right, yeah.
Fauci hasn't seen a patient in several decades. And look up the history of Fauci on AIDS and just how wrong he was there.
No.
It's hilarious. It reads like a joke novella.
Like we would write it.
Yeah. It reads like when Oprah said 1 in 3 heterosexual couples will die of AIDS by 1995. It's almost like that. So the CDC, though, is flip-flop. This is a recent one, and then let me explain to you why. It's not that I don't trust scientists. It's that I trust the scientific method. And time again, we see certain scientists who are not observing the scientific method. Case in point, this just happened on Friday, right? The CDC posted new guidance that aerosol transmission may be one of the most common ways. So what happened was they updated new guidelines, the CDC, saying that actually it can be an aerosol, meaning not droplets. So this is a problem that can occur more than 6 feet away. Basically, COVID now is completely airborne, that can occur anywhere. And so we need to have enhanced filtration systems and different methods.
Terror.
And then they took it down.
Fear.
Yeah.
Oh,
then they took it down.
Our bad.
Yeah.
What?
So it went up, they changed it,
they were wrong?
went down, and then Pelosi was challenging the CDC, blaming Trump himself for the reversal. Again, this is a problem. What do you think the scientific method is? We think it might be aerosol. Oh wait, no, we were wrong about that. We're going to correct it. How dare you correct it when we want science? Do you know what do you even science, bro?
Well, at this point, any changes they make, they're saying it's because Donald Trump is putting political pressure on them to make, and that the CDC is now an organization that we can't trust.
Right.
Really? Sanjay Gupta's the guy?
CDC website is Donald Trump's Tumblr.
Right, yeah, exactly.
You don't even know if we should wear a mask or not.
Yeah.
We've discovered nothing. Even when I first heard that, I was an industrial painter. They're like, we're not sure if it protects it. I'm like, so were you protecting the paint when I was wearing the mask? We are not even, we know nothing about this.
Well, we've never
said,
before. Sorry, go ahead.
But you can't trust assumptions.
Right,
That's just the reality. And you're like, same with Oprah. It's like hindsight. You know, everything they said was ridiculous.
And a huge hiney.
Yeah.
Hindsight.
Well, some of the time.
It depends. It's like month to month. You have no idea. But she's going to be on the cover of her own magazine.
You can track it from the magazine.
And MSNBC even went as far as saying that this was a battle because the CDC did this. Put it up, took it down. Yeah. MSNBC said this is a clash of politicians and scientists. Here's a clip.
What does this tell us about how the administration is handling the pandemic now?
This is in line with a stream of things we've seen where there seems to be a real battle inside the CDC between the scientists and the political appointees. I mean, over and over again, we've seen the CDC pushing forward or silencing the scientists, accusing them when they don't go along with the message that the president wants to be sending of trying to embarrass him publicly.
Okay, all right, listen, no, I can't, but bullshit, I have to push it back down like swallowing a little bit of vomit at this point. Yeah. They were saying you should trust Anthony Fauci. Why? Because the CDC is a completely separate wing of government, autonomous from the presidency. They're the ones who set up this clash. Donald Trump and Anthony Fauci get along. They bust balls with each other all the time. They're constantly ribbing each other. So they said, don't trust anything coming out of the White House. Don't trust anything coming from politicians. Trust the CDC. Trust Fauci. Don't trust any of the other scientific experts. First it was trust the Imperial College of London. But trust the CDC because it is not tainted with politics, which of course is also untrue, but that's what they told you, and now they want you to believe that Donald Trump is basically treating the CDC like his own personal blog spot. Well, let's go through this really quickly. You mentioned masks. Here's why some people might not trust the scientists. And again, that's a flip-flop from the media. Trust the CDC. They're autonomous. Trust the scientists. Hey, don't trust the CDC because right now they actually decided to use a scientific method and realize that they may have been wrong or jumped the gun. What else have we had on the CDC flip-flops? Wear a mask? Don't wear a mask. You can go back to the show where we actually had Origin Maine, a company, retooled its factory to put on masks. We said, listen, we don't know if it works or not, but we do think that it probably helps from the science that we've seen if you have the sniffles to prevent it from transmitting to other people. We were fact-checked on YouTube that masks actually don't help and that they could hurt at that point in time.
They could.
Then they said it's airborne, it's not airborne. That's the more recent one. There was a mortality rate of over 1%. Some people had it as high as 4%, now to 0.2%. If you're below the age of 80 and don't have pre-existing conditions, it's like 0.03%. People were removed on Facebook. Those doctors and California for expressing exactly the mortality rate that is the newly revised, not even newly now, several months in now, revised mortality rate from the CDC. So when actual scientists are out there saying, actually, we think that this is the mortality rate, what happens? They get removed from Facebook. Then when the CDC catches up because it's a giant bureaucratic bloated shit bag, all of a sudden, well, we accept their mortality rate. But that doesn't change the fact that you don't get it back. Those doctors have been banned from Facebook. Those people who've been trying to actually perform a public service, just like we don't get our live stream back. What else? Asymptomatic people can be carriers to asymptomatic people can't be carriers, back to actually they can be carriers. So that's another flip-flop.
Experts, though. They're experts.
My personal favorite, trust the scientists, mass gatherings at churches, even outside in the park, worship or voting, dangerous, cannot be tolerated. Mass protests in the street where you burn rubber, literally. I don't mean that driving fast. I mean you actually burn rubber and throw bricks through windows and get tear gassed. All of a sudden, we're a little murky on the science. We don't think that's as much of a problem as people singing, Lord, I lift your name on high in a local park.
Well, and I think the problem that we all have now is that this has been politicized, but they're saying that it was politicized by Republicans. No. It was politicized by news agencies who wanted to push fear-mongering so that we could have Donald Trump be responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths so that he wouldn't be voted again as president of the United States and put back in office. No, that you guys are the ones that have gone out there and made us not trust in these institutions because you haven't gone with common sense. We've known for 100 years that masks don't work.
Right.
We've known for 100 years.
Let me recap this. So at the beginning of this, 2 million deaths, mortality rate of single-digit percentage points, 1 to 4%. Masks are a bad thing. Asymptomatic people can't be carriers. It was not airborne. And now at the end of this, revised about a tenth of the death rate. You absolutely have to have masks. The mortality rate is not single digit. It's 0.0 single digit. And we still don't know about asymptomatic carriers or if it's airborne. Your guess is as good as ours. Trust the science. And by the way, don't conduct any of your own science. And don't even actually try and aggregate science from multiple sources. Because guess what? Oh my God, if you actually looked at other science aside from the number one, the only science that was accepted on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, what was it? The Imperial College of London study. And if you went against it in any way, and that guy has been forced to resign in shame, if I'm not mistaken, if you went against Neil, right?
Yeah, because we're sneaking out.
If you went against it in any way, you were removed for misinformation. Well, now the science has caught up to the critics. Let's look at who was the expert? The expert at that point, right, was the Imperial College of London, and even Anthony Fauci saying 2 million deaths. They said it could be anywhere from at least 1%. They said 1, 2, and some people are having it as high as 4%, but 1 or 2%. The people who said, you know what, I think this is actually really a glorified flu. With glorified flu has 0.1 or 0.01%, right? Well, okay, this was at the beginning. People who said this is more comparable to the flu than it is to say Ebola were banned. Who was right? It's not even close.
No, not even close.
The people who said it's closer to the flu, if you were to have it on a stick graph, the truth would be so far over, you would really just think it's a line with a double dot at the end of it.
Yeah. And go back and replay one of the videos that we did during the quarantine that we did. We said if you would just protect old people with pre-existing conditions, you would be going further than doing any lockdowns and doing any masking, doing any social distancing.
Just imprison old and sick people.
Just lock them down for a little while.
And it is odd. We let Ebola people off of a cruise ship faster.
We did.
And we vilified was it Samaritan?
Samaritan's Purse.
Samaritan's Purse who went over there into those countries with Ebola where there was a 50% mortality rate.
Well, and if you're talking about politicizing, it's very hard to trust anybody once it was the Russia, Kavanaugh, impeach, and then this thing. It just fell so perfectly like dominoes. You're going to make American people distrust it.
Are you saying that Kavanaugh didn't run trains on unsuspecting women on the weekends?
Well, I'm no
just
woman.
Not her.
That's right. You can't have an opinion unless you have ovaries. I forgot about that.
That's right.